Okay, we need to accept people. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll just give it another minute to allow a few more people to join, and then we'll get started. And in the meantime, we've launched a quick poll just to get a sense of where everyone is today with AI agents. Let us know whether your organization is already using them, exploring, or if this is something completely new to you. Okay, I think we're good to start. Can you see my screen? Yes, right. I cannot see it, so all good with my screen?
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. All right, I think we're ready to get started. Welcome everyone, and thank you again for joining us today on today's webinar in collaboration with Microsoft about AI agents. We're going to focus on finance, HR, and operation teams. So today we really want to make this session practical and business focused and show you what that can actually look like inside your organization. So we'll have two parts to today's session. First, Ashley will walk us through how AI agents are evolving in the workplace, giving us some practical opportunities across different business teams, and how organizations can start thinking about adoption and business value. And after that, our AI manager at tecnet, Elaheh, will demo a couple of AI agents that we've built and used internally. And as a bonus, everyone attending today would also receive a downloadable handout after the webinar with ready-to-use AI agents ideas and business use cases, as well as an opportunity matrix to help you evaluate processes within your own departments. At the very end, we'll do the raffle for 2 gift cards winners, so make sure you stay until the end. And okay, just gonna... And with that, I'm pleased to present Ashley Evans. She's going to be our speaker for today's session, and she's from Microsoft. She's a sales leader at Microsoft, specializing in AI business solutions for small and medium Canadian businesses. She works closely with Canadian partners and clients to drive Copilot adoption, AI enablement, and business transformation, with a strong focus on turning complex AI concepts into practical real-world value. We're very happy to have her joining us again today. So Ashley, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Angela. Give me one sec while I just get my presentation set up. Where are we? There we go.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Current slide. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. Can you see my presentation now?
Yes.
Okay, let me see if I can present in Teams. Present. Gotta love the Microsoft person having trouble with Microsoft technology here. Awesome. Okay, great. Good. I guess it's good morning for probably most of the folks on the room. As Angela introduced me, I work for Microsoft. I'm in the partner solution sales world, supporting SMB customers and partners in Canada. I spend most of my week in conversations very much like this one I'm having with you today. So let me tell you what the next 35 minutes is going to look like and what they're not going to look like. This is not going to be a session about pie in the sky, artificial intelligence in the abstract. We're going to talk in the context of the work that you guys all did last week or are doing today, probably as we're on this call. Whether it be like the month-end close that you're chasing down or a new person that you're trying to train up or onboard or that invoice that you need to follow up on. By the time we finish, I'm hoping that you'll have three things. You will have a plain English understanding of what an agent actually is. You'll have an idea of one process in your own business that you could potentially hand over to an agent, and a way to try it with Copilot without committing to anything. So feel free to put your questions in the chat as we go along. I will pick them up either during or at the end, depending on the time that we've got. Okay, so this is just my agenda side. We're just going to start with why this moment is different from any other AI conversation we've been having in the last 2 years. I'm going to talk about a plain definition of agentic work, because I think the word agent has been used in different tones, different contexts, sometimes poorly, and it has confused a lot of really good people. Then the bulk of our time is going to be focused on kind of how this comes to life in the world of finance, in the world of human resources, with some real examples that you can think about that you could potentially implement as early as next week. And I'm going to touch on, of course, because I work for Microsoft, why we believe Microsoft is the safest place for a small business to start. And then we'll finish with some information we have on a 30-day plan to get you started. But before we go any further, and Angela, you can try to help me out with this poll. I want to hear from you because your answer is going to probably shape how I talk for the rest of the 30 minutes that we have. If you could launch poll 1, is where does most of your week actually disappear? And I'm going to submit my own answer. Yeah, all of the above, operations on follow-up. Um, and to be honest, that's the answer I get in almost every single room that I talk to in this world. And it's the defining condition of what a small medium business is. Often it's the same person who's doing the finance, who's doing the hiring, who's doing the follow-ups, who's doing the payroll. Operations and follow-ups cover a large amount of different types of activities. And this is exactly what we see in SMB, is that largely you solve it in the evenings, if not, during your day. So let me show you why the admin load is finally solvable. Those follow-ups are finally solvable, and why it's now and not 2 years ago when we first introduced AI. So Microsoft, we actually did our own research into how our sellers are spending their time. And that number came back about 70% was going to admin work. Operations and follow-up is what you guys called it in the chat. research, planning, building proposals, data entry, internal meetings, following up with customers, chasing down escalations, 70%. So now if you hold that number up against your own reality, because in your businesses, you're likely the person that is doing all of that, it's the most of the time, the admin and the operations and the follow-up is not a side effect of your job. It becomes the job a lot of the times. And I want to actually take a moment to just name what that actually costs you, because it's easy to file it under this, productivity tax and then move on. But it's not really just a productivity problem. It's your most expensive people probably doing your least valuable work. It's the quote that you didn't send because the day ran out. It's the customer who waited 2 days for an answer that took 4 minutes to write. That's lost revenue, and it's tarnished reputation. And here's what we've changed. There are three things basically that have changed to help us solve for that. First, AI's moved into the tools that you're already paid for. So things like Word, Excel, Outlook, Teams. Second, it has visibility into your business context rather than just the internet like our traditional chatbots 2 years ago. It can see your files, your meetings, it knows who you are. It can access all the documents that you already have permission to access. It can even plug into third-party applications. And the third thing is, this is the genuinely new part, and we get to talk about agentic, is that it actually can start to finish work for you rather than just draft it. And that's what we really call like the defining aspects of an agent. So I want to give you an analogy that I think makes this concept of an agent stick, because the vocabulary in this space has genuinely been very unhelpful. If you think about an agent versus a prompt is asking a colleague a question. Okay, you get an answer, it's useful, and then you go back to your way of doing things and they go back to their desk. This is where most people start with AI. And it's why a lot have concluded that it's fine, but it's not actually like going to transform the way I do things. It's probably just going to help me do them a little bit faster. In that middle tranche assistant, this is really a colleague that's sitting beside you. This is the co-pilot in your apps. This is the AI inside your apps. It can see the context of your business. You say summarize, and it knows more or less what you mean by summarize. It has access to the numbers. It's a real step up because now it's in your business context, but you're still driving one instruction at a time. You're having a conversation over and over with it, providing more guidance as you go along. An agent, on the other hand, is more of a colleague that you could give a job to and then walk away from. It has three things kind of it needs in terms of parameters. It needs a goal, it needs permissions, and a trigger. And you tell it what you want the finished artifact or finished output to look like, what information it's allowed to use, and when to start. And then it runs the whole sequence. It does all of the reasoning by itself and brings you the completed artifact to then approve. And that is completely different. It's a completely different economic proposition, because for the first time, the work happens without you sitting in it. Okay, it's happening while you're doing something else. The shift that matters here is from asking for help with a task to actually fully handing over that task to an agent. Okay, so let me just move on here now and say, let's put a definition around it. So one you could repeat to your teams tomorrow if you want to. So here's the definition that I'd like you to leave with around agentic. Agentic work, okay, agentic work is delegating an outcome instead of doing every step. So you define three things, like I said: the goal, the information it's going to use, and the point where you approve it. Everything in between is the agent's job. Now notice what's not in the definition, okay, because this is where the cost usually hides in AI, is there's no data project, there's no new system, no developer that you need to pay for, nothing to migrate. You're describing a job the way you would describe it to a new hire. Onboard this employee, chase overdue invoices, what have you. You're describing a job the way that you would describe it to an intern or a colleague, and it will look for all of the information it needs in the context of your business and do that work for you. And the third card, because this is the one that one of your team will push back on, and you need to be able to answer it, is what's really important is that with agentic work, you stay in control. Okay, nothing is sent, nothing's posted, nothing's paid without human oversight. Every step is visible when you have agentic work set up properly, and every step is reversible. That is what makes this an acceptable business risk rather than an interesting experiment. So it's really important that you anchor on that third pillar as a principle when you're working on agentic projects. So you want to make sure there is always a human in the loop, and you're always supervising and approving rather than actually doing all of the grunt work. If that still feels like a little bit of an abstract idea, here is a comparison table of how we think about the three levels compared. So same technology, three levels of help. I would just read that bottom row out loud to yourself for 1 second. Everyone in this session can already use Copilot Chat, but agents are the next step, not a different project. Okay, and that does the whole work of this slide. If you want to tell it, rewrite this email, that is a prompt. Summarize this month's numbers for me. In Excel, that is an assistant. Every month end close, compare it, draft my summary, send it to me first. That is an agent, because you said it once, it holds, and it can be repeated. Okay. One thing I want to be really clear on before we move on, because it removes a barrier that stops a lot of people. And like I said, everyone on the call can use Copilot Chat. It's not a future purchase decision. It's not something that you need a business case for. But when you get a license, that's when you can start to turn some of this iterative chat work into agents, leveraging the agentic capabilities that we have in, for example, a Copilot license. How am I for time, Angela?
We're good.
Okay, good. Okay, let's talk about value and some myths. So let's take the left side first, and let me translate each of these into something your accountant would recognize. Hours back is capacity. Hours back is capacity you're not paying overtime for or a contract worker for. Okay, fewer things dropped between people and inboxes is working capital, because an invoice nobody chased down is cash that's not sitting in your bank account. The same quality on your worst week as your best is risk reduction, because your output stops depending on whether one particular person was in the office or not. Agents help solve for that. Decisions on Monday instead of decisions on Thursday is speed. And in our market, as we all know, speed is revenue, speed is competitiveness. Now, the fourth myth I'm just going to go into quickly, it replaces my people. No, it does not replace people. It removes admin, not the judgment. Okay? Nobody in this room has a shortage of judgment. You have a shortage of hours. We have a shortage of time. We need a data project first. Also know, start with the files you already have. Okay? Our data becomes public, your content stays yours and is not used to train the models. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. So I want to talk about finance for a second, because I understand we've got a couple of finance folks on the call. These are some finance use cases, okay? So the first one is the classic, let's call it month-end reporting that swallows up someone's week of work. And the outcome I want you to hear is not sort of faster reporting. It's the numbers It's that the numbers land to the right people on day 2 instead of day 7. That is 5 extra days of running your business on what is actually happening rather than what you remember happening. Okay. So 5 days is basically what you're saving. It's the difference between fixing a problem and explaining one. Okay. The second one is I have here is budget variance. And this is more about how agent capabilities can help on the risk side of things. Catching overspend earlier in the month. This helps you make decisions faster around mitigating that overspend. Overspending a quarter too late is just a bad surprise that you have to explain, whereas catching it in advance is allows you the runway to mitigate the issue. So you could create an agent that compares actuals to budget every week, flags anything that's past a certain threshold, notify you in Teams or via email. These are all capabilities that agents can do to help with the risk mitigation side of the equation for someone in finance. I put in here some rough time ranges in the right-hand side. These are not a promise, and I'm not going to stand here and tell you your business will get exactly 4 hours back as an example. The entire point of doing something like a trial is that you try it out, start with a couple of use cases, and measure those productivity changes, measure those impacts on your own in the context of your own business. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example here of a month-end agent. So imagine you're setting this up so that on the first day of each month, you want this agent to tell you what has changed. Okay, so step 1, it gathers, it opens the finance workbook and the bank export from your SharePoint. Step 2, it compares actuals against budget, this month against last month. It flags things that have moved. Step 3, it drafts a 1-page summary, emails it to your leadership team. And then the step 4 is the one that I want you to hold on to, is that you approve. So nothing in the process leaves you, gets sent out if you don't want it to, until you've read it and press send. And here's the part that surprises people, that an agent like this can be built in Copilot Studio from no coding at all, just language, plain language description. Okay, so this is not a developer project. This is not leveraging a new system. It doesn't have to move your data anywhere. Somebody literally can go into Copilot Studio, describe the job in ordinary plain English, the same way you would brief an assistant. And that is it. It does all of the heavy lifting in the back end to make sure it's set up properly. And also, when it comes to agents, and I know that Angela and the rest of the team are going to talk about some of the out-of-box agents that they have as partners have developed that can be tailored to your organization. And of course, they can help with agent development as well. I'm going to just talk about HR for a second, because this is one that I hear a lot about, which is employee onboarding. Every new hire gets onboarded slightly differently, right? And the difference usually comes down to who happened to be available to help that new person that particular week. And the outcome here is not necessarily a tidier process. When we think about an agent, it's reducing the time to productivity that new person is going to go through. It's the increasing or speeding up the learning curve for that particular individual. So somebody contributing properly in a week instead of maybe contributing properly in week 4. And that's real money for somebody in a business who doesn't have a ton of employees. It's also a retention story. Like, let's be honest, people are really thinking right now about where they want to work and asking questions around how Copilot is being implemented within their organization. And a lot of, particularly the younger generation, are walking away from jobs where organizations haven't, at least in part, adopted some sort of AI or agent capabilities. Um, the second row there is the quiet one, and it's my favorite. So the same 5 policy questions are bombarding your inbox. How much vacation do I have left? What is my, limit on my expense account? Is this covered within our travel policy? um, these individual inquiries that are collectively taxing on potentially the most expensive person in the building. So an agent can very quickly, arguably way more quickly than some of the other agents, can answer those questions if you have some standard documentation for it to refer to. And I want to just be careful and clear on the last row, which is performance reviews. So AI, it can assemble the record. It pulls together signals on what someone actually worked on over the years. So a review is not necessarily written from the most immediate memory of the person writing it. So it can be very helpful to remove things like recency bias, et cetera, but ultimately the manager decides. um, the judgment ultimately ends up staying with the people conducting the performance review. And I wouldn't want you to believe that AI could be used in any other way. It's all about assembling, removing bias, making sure it's comprehensive, and then leaving the judgment to the actual person conducting the employee review. Okay, so let me skip over here. I'm going to skip over here just for the sake of time and talk about the good first agents. So could you launch the second poll, Angela?
Yes, just it. Okay.
I submitted a response too. Okay, so while that's coming through, I really like this framework to think of a way for you to distill down where you want to start. Like good first agents really do share these 3 traits. Um, So the first is it repeats, obviously. So a task that repeats on a regular basis, whether it be weekly, monthly, or if there's a certain and consistent trigger like a customer email. If it happens like once a year, I would say that's not a really good use case for an initial agent. It also follows rules. So if you can explain the steps to a new hire, you can delegate it to someone else to explain it. And the last is it's low risk. So start with a use case that is not super risky to your business. And also when you're developing it, start with a workflow where there is someone approving consistently and throughout the process. And I want to say this plainly because I've actually seen this go wrong. The fastest way to kill an AI project in your business, especially in the size of an SMB, is to point it at the hardest, messiest process you have and try to prove something. Start where the mistakes are cheap. with agents. Win once, learn, and then, of course, be ambitious. Okay? Yeah, meeting, follow-up, and action items. I am with you, folks. And finding things across files and emails. Oh my gosh. I read a stat somewhere that said that, what is it? The average worker spends 7 hours a week trying to find stuff. With Copilot or a solution like Copilot, I mean, that's bringing you down to seconds because of the context it has in your work. It's amazing. Anyway, that was a little bit outside of the scope of agents, but it was really interesting to see everyone's reactions in the poll. I want to just take a minute to go through this because this slide really, really important to help you build trust in a solution like Copilot. Okay, so the first thing is when you're developing agents on a platform like Copilot is that your data stays yours. Okay, your business content, this is super important. This goes across agents, it goes across M365 Copilot, paid or free. Your business content is not used to train the underlying models. Okay, if you are using a third-party solution, and I'm not going to name different technologies because they all have different T's and C's, but I would encourage you to look at the T's and C's, read the T's and C's, have a good understanding of how it's using your business data. What I can say about Copilot confidently and M365 is that the content is not being used to train the underlying models. The permissions on the files that you have on your tenant are carried over. Copilot respects one. And this is the one that settles the most of the folks in the room, is that M365 Copilot and agents built on M365 Copilot only ever see what the individual already has access to. It creates no new access. So if somebody can't see the payroll folder, or if they cannot see, certain legal documents, then Copilot can't see it either for that user. It runs inside your own M365 environment under the commitments that you already signed with our master agreement. You get administrative control from day one over who has access to what and which agents exist, how they're being used, and by who. Agent activity is visible and it's reviewable. So AI use can be audited like anything else can in your organization. And there's absolutely no risk in that. And there is basically no new supplier to vet when you are looking at a solution like Copilot because it's M365. You're working with the same vendor, the same contract, same sign-in, same support, et cetera, et cetera. And here's why it matters commercially for an organization that doesn't have an IT department. You're not taking on a new vendor. You're not having to test a new product necessarily or a new model. You are switching to something that's already inside of the platform that you've already assessed, already used, and are already, in a lot of cases, paying for. Okay. And then I just want to touch on sort of the honest answer around why Microsoft. And the honest answer here is it's really not about any model. It's about the fact that Copilot already knows your business. So it has all that rich context and rich data across Outlook, Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive. It has access to all of the documents that sit on your tenant. That's why when you're working with Copilot or agents with Copilot, is that it really starts to sound like your company rather than something like that's coming off the internet. And the practical consequences of all of that are on the right, which I talked about. You have nothing to migrate. You have nothing new to learn in terms of a platform because it lives in all the apps that are already open on your screen. Change management becomes some simple training as opposed to a full-blown program. Which means that the things you're actually buying here is not software, it's not a particular model, it's activating something that you already own. And you really bought sort of the hard part years ago, which was let's buy the security, the data, infrastructure, um, put it on the M365 platform, and then use Copilot to turn on AI within that same platform. Okay. One thing I want to talk here about is just some practical guidance on getting started with agents. So this is a deliberately small, like I said before, start small with one team and one process that you want to test out with agents. Find the process, use that framework and that methodology that I just talked about in terms of the risk and level of effort. And then build a simple agent on Copilot Studio and use it daily for a couple weeks. You can build confidence so that people can see and feel comfortable with the way it works. And then only then start to really take that repeated work off of your plate permanently. The week one list on the left there really doesn't need any permissions or any project. Summarizing a long email thread, turning your meeting notes into actions, asking questions on last month's meeting, all of that you could do, out of the gate without any sort of formal project. On making it stick, I would say having one champion per function within your organization would be very helpful to make sure that there is a subject matter expert that can help guide other users. A Teams channel or some sort of community where people share prompts. That's huge. That's been huge inside of our organization. Adoption in sort of an owner-led SMB business follows the owner. So if you are a business owner on the call, if you're not using agents or if you're not adopting your own technology, there's essentially no amount of training that is going to accelerate that project without you using it. So I'm going to how am I for time, Angela? I think I need to wrap up, don't I?
We can have 2 more minutes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to just flip to this last slide. So we talked a little bit about agents. We talked about agents in the context of Copilot. A lot of the times what is preventing projects from starting is just the initial cost versus the uncertainty of whether or not a pilot is going to be successful. So what we have launched at Microsoft is what we're calling Copilot in 30. Okay, so we, through your CSP partner, like tecnet on the call, you can acquire 25 Copilot licenses for 30 days. And what that will help you do is within your organization, help you try to test out some of those use cases, not only with agents, but prompting in general over a 30-day time period to help you better understand how ready is your organization, how ready are your people, and what are those things that are really helping to be solved with AI. So I encourage you to, as you're thinking about new agentic use cases in your organization, think about taking advantage of our 30-day offer where you get free licenses for a period of 30 days to help deploy within a small set of users within your organization. run some scenarios across a smaller set of use cases to determine what are the highest value things that you can implement right away with the lowest risk. Okay, so thank you so much for the time. I'm going to take a minute now to go into the chat and see if there's some questions that need answering from a Microsoft perspective. But I will pass it on to Angela and the rest of the TechNet team to take you through some of the amazing stuff that they have put together to help you through your own agentic journey.
Thank you so much, Ashley. That was great. I think it gave us a really good understanding of not only where AI agents are heading, but also how organizations can start thinking about them from a practical business perspective. So we're going to take a few minutes now for Q&A. If you have any questions for Ashley, please drop them into the chat and we'll answer as many as we can live. And while we wait for some questions to come in, I actually have one. I have one to get us started. How would you measure the ROI of an AI agent, just beyond just the amount of time it saves?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I
That
can
is
repeat.
no, I heard it. How do you measure the ROI?
Yeah.
There's various ways that you could do it, and I want us to think about ROI not only in the terms of um, dollars per employee, but also across risk mitigation and also alignment to your own business objectives. Um, so step one, I would say that you've got to understand what the opportunity cost of a dollar is, or an opportunity cost in dollars for each of your employees. Like, what is an hour of their time worth, whether it be cost or revenue? And then what you can see is within the Copilot dashboard in the Microsoft Admin Center, you can start to see how those usage patterns are translating into time saved per employee. We also have amazing tools called the Business Value Calculator that essentially will allow you to, and I'll put it into the chat.
Okay.
It'll allow you to help translate time and effort into ROI based on your revenue and different cost inputs. But it is definitely like a nebulous question that I get a lot. And it's definitely harder to quantify than we would like. But I would say think about the think about it in terms of the opportunity cost of the employees that are not using AI and what else they could be accomplishing while they delegate some of that work to artificial intelligence.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Let's see if we have any other questions. I believe Elaheh helped us reply a lot of them. Please feel free to drop your questions into the chat. Oh, we have one. What are some common mistakes you've seen organizations make when they start implementing AI agents?
The biggest one is picking the hairiest project first. So it's tempting to pick the biggest business challenge and try to tackle agents to solve that business challenge. But you can quickly lose confidence if you are new to agents and tackling a business process that spans multiple data sources, multiple stakeholders, and is super core to your business operations. So we want to see folks experiment, build their own capabilities around agents, using some of those lower risk scenarios first.
Okay.
And then of course, like the I don't want to scare anyone, but like making sure that your data is good and properly labeled. because you don't want agents to go and have access to really sensitive information like people's pay or social insurance numbers. So making sure all of that data is locked down and not visible to the agent or the user invoking that agent.
Okay, that's great. Okay, I think we're good to move to Ellie's presentation. I'm happy to introduce Elaheh Nouri, our AI manager at TechNet. She will walk us through a couple of AI agents that we've built internally at TechNet. Elaheh, over to you.
Good, thank you, and hi everyone. I hope that you have found this webinar helpful so far. Now we have talked about the AI and how it can be used in HR and also finance. We thought that it would be useful if we can show you two real examples that we are actually using in TechNet right now to see how we can apply these agents in practice. I will walk you through in two internal agents that we have. One of them is TechNet HR Atlas agent, and another one is for finance team that is working in Visa. First of all, I would like to share the page that I have for TechNet Atlas agent. We have created this agent using Copilot Studio, and we published this agent in Teams chat, and everybody in the organization right now have access to this agent. They can come here and ask any question about HR related question, about vacation, work from home policy, or any HR policy. And whenever we have a new policy, HR team is going and updating the knowledge base. In this way, we don't need to give Copilot license to everybody in organization. We are just charging based on the token. And this agent is created using Copilot Studio that most of you are asking this question about Copilot Studio and Microsoft Copilot. The name are similar, but the function is a little bit different. And here you can see the page that shows the billing information about this agent that actually explain about that, and also how many times people are coming and using this agent. And we are using this data to calculate the save time. So for example, 15 hours saved in a month or more. And we can understand how people are using this agent. Do we need to train them? Do we need to inform them that they can reach out to this agent to ask HR related questions? And for creating this agent, the procedure is really straightforward. We just need to have all of the policy in a shared drive, or we put all of them in a SharePoint site. And then there is an instruction for agent that whenever people are asking questions, go and check this knowledge base and answer this question. That is the simple way of working with the agents. Let me go back to my presentation. And in Tecnet Atlas, we handled more than 200 HR questions. As you see also in the dashboard that I shared, you can see the response rate, that how much people are asking question and agent is able to answer their question. And also the estimated time, if we evaluate that per each query or question, HR team needs to spend 10 minutes to read the email and respond them. You can see that 35 hours can be saved in HR in 90 days in TechNet. And also beyond the time saving, the agent is available 24/7, and staff can ask question anytime that they need. They have immediate access to the answer that they need, and they don't need to wait for email response. And also, we don't need to add any headcount to HR. If we are hiring more people in TechNet, still this HR agent can answer any question that they have. Another one is another agent we have in finance team, and we created this agent based on their requirement. This is in the Copilot Microsoft Copilot version that I have explained. We have Copilot Studio that is for more advanced one, and also we have Microsoft Copilot Simple Agent. Our finance team created this agent by themselves. They have a lot of Visa expense that people are using some Visa card that is for company, and they need to get these reports and insert this information in QuickBooks. For reviewing all of this transaction, they need to get the report that you see from bank and extract the information, categorize them, and insert them in a QuickBooks. But this agent helping them to get this report from bank, upload it here to the agent, and then the agent is categorizing information based on the account code, GL code that they need, and also agent knows which costs need to have extra GST or other thing. And at the end, they will have an Excel file that they can upload to the QuickBooks. I know that QuickBooks Online has a capability and feature that you can upload this Excel sheet easily. And in this way, a lot of manual work in finance is handled through this agent. And for the results, I just asked our finance team that how many Visa statement you are analyzing, and they mentioned that each month they have more than 31. And for each of them, if they spend 10 minutes, it is a lot of time for them. But using this agent, they can upload all of this Visa report in a batch format to the agent and get the Excel sheet and upload them to the QuickBooks. That is one use case that is simple, and it is in Microsoft Copilot. It is not token-based, and they are just using their own Copilot license for managing this finance requirement. I just tried to keep it short, but we have a lot of other samples that our finance team and HR is using for defining the job description, for training planning for our staff based on their role. They are defining what type of training and certificate do they need.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ellie. I totally missed one of the questions that I think will be important to clarify. Ashley or Ellie, if you could help me with this one. Jennifer asked, this will require that your documents are stored in a cloud environment and not on a physical server. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have explained. Yeah.
Okay. No, you go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want you to answer first, then I'll go all over.
I sent my answer in the chat, but I would like
Oh,
to
you
hear
did?
from Microsoft.
Oh, you replied? Oh,
Yeah, but
Okay.
they didn't reply. So
I bet I didn't see it.
Okay, so essentially, yes, the Copilot agents are going to work best when files are on the M365 tenant. They can connect to on-premise data sources via graph connectors, graph APIs or connectors. So it's feasible to connect to on-premise data sources, but to the second point, AI in general and agents are always going to potentially expose data vulnerabilities that already exist. They just expedite the process. So it is really, really important that regardless of where the data is sitting, the proper governance is in place, the proper data labeling is implemented to help sort of mitigate any information loss risks that are out there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So before we wrapped up and move into the raffle, just wanted to say that if anything you saw today sparked an idea for your organization, we've just launched. We're gonna send one final quick poll. If you will be interested in seeing these agents in more detail or exploring how something similar could be adapted to your own business, your industry or workflows, just let us know through the poll. We'll be happy to arrange a personalized demo and continue the conversation with you after today's session. And last but not least, before we let everyone go, we'll have the fun part. I'll be sharing my screen so we can select 2 winners of the $30 Amazon gift card. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay. So we have Fanny and Pedro Monteiro. Please raise your hand if you are here with us right now. Pedro, I see you. Do we have Fanny in the call with us? No. Okay, we're gonna repick another one. We can give the chance to another. Samarth Pathak, if you're here with us, please raise your hand. Oh, looks like we don't, so we can repick another one. Noor Ahmad, are you here with us? You can get the gift card. Noor Ahmad. Oh, I see Fanny raised your hand. If we don't have Noor, we can give it. Okay, I think we have our 2 winners. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We really hope the session was valuable. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any more questions, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Ashley and Elaheh.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.